Hello children, welcome to Standard 10 and welcome to this session. Children, we are going through a very tough time, a time of challenges. Challenge of fighting with Corona and to keep ourselves safe. Challenge of staying back at home during lockdown and continue our studies among these challenges. So let us children straightway come to the first chapter of your Standard 10 from the book The First Flight. First chapter is a letter to God. Now children, I hope you have heard about the term theist, atheist. Theist is a person who believes in God. And atheist means who doesn't believe in God. So, we almost all are theist. We have faith on God. We are God-fearing also. We think that if we do not act properly, God might curse us. We are God-fearing. But there are people like our protagonist, Lencho, who has immense faith on God, absolute faith on God, and believes that whatever is going on the earth is all done by God. Let us start with the chapter. Nowadays, children, you do not see much letters which come by post. Not very common, though it's still existing, but it's not very common. Earlier, which was there. Now, mostly, email, etc. But here we will see that Lencho, how he writes a letter to God directly. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and a field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour or at least a shower. So the field could be seen from the mountains and it was covered with harvest. That would yield money for Lencho throughout the year, and he is waiting for the downpour to come. That downpour would come and the harvest will be very good. So he is waiting for that. He knows his fields very much intimately because that is his bread earner. He can earn money from the field only, and that field he knows very, just like the palm of his hand he knows the field. Now we are really going to get some water, woman. He said to his wife that now the rain would come. He is waiting for the rain to come, and when the rain would come, the proper harvest would be there. He was just waiting for that. The woman who was preparing supper replied, "Yes, God willing." They know only God. They know that if God wishes, rain will be there. If the God doesn't wish, there will be no rain. They don't know about science. They don't know any theories of geography. They don't mind about that. They know straightway to God that it is according to God's wish that the rain would come or not. Whatever is what happens on the world, according to the God. Such immense faith they had. So the woman said like that. The older boys, they were working in the field, and the younger boys, they were playing. And the lady calls for the dinner. Now, Lencho predicted the big drops of rain would come, and it came. So, in the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet, and the man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. You know how much rain is dearing to him, that the rain would come. That rain actually brings the message of his harvest. Which harvest? The harvest that will give him food for throughout the year for him and his family. So how much during the rain is for him, you can understand. So he went out to enjoy the pleasure of the rain that would give him food. These aren't the raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5. Each and every drop is blessed with harvest. That is, each drop will bring harvest for him. So each and every minute to minute drop of water was very valuable for him, very precious for him. The bigger drops will have bigger harvest, more harvest, so 10 cents, and the smaller drop will earn smaller harvest, so 5 cents. But each are worthy for him, each are very valuable, very precious for him. So he enjoyed the rain. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. It was beautiful scene for him to watch. The whole greenery was there and it was draped with the rain. That is the most beautiful sight of his life for a farmer. Now, but suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. Initially, it was beautiful. It looked like silver coins. Hails, that is the small stones of ice that falls from the snow, rather you can say, from the sky. So initially, it looked like silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. You also enjoyed to collect the pearls that collect the hails. So they also enjoyed it. But it's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. But slowly and slowly, as the time passed, the hailstorm did not stop, and it became really a thing to be worried of. I hope it passes quickly. It did not pass quickly, but actually it did not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, etc. And 1 hour hail storm means is enough to finish, to destroy the crop. The field was white as if covered with salt. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. You can well understand that a farmer, how much he can feel, what he can feel. The whole year's harvest gone to spoil. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn." The plague of locusts, that is, locust means you know that small insect that spoil the harvest. They come all of a sudden in a flock, and they come, they destroy the field, eat the whole corn, and they go. It affects the farmer very much, the crops. He says that if it would be a plague of locust also, then also he could manage. But the hailstorm has not kept anything left for him of his harvest. It absolutely spoiled, went nothing. There's no one who can help us. We all go hungry this year. So the whole year they would have to starve. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope: help from God. But they had immense faith on God. They knows that means on the earth, everything goes with God, and God knows everything. So God knows that what has happened to him, and God is there to help him. Don't be so upset. Even though this seems like total loss, remember, no one dies of hunger. They believe that whoever has given birth on the world, he is only responsible to provide the food to them. They cannot die out of hunger. God knows that. God is there to save them. To save them means to save all the human race. To whom he has given birth on the earth will be provided food by him only. So they will not have to starve. God is there to help them. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. All through the night, Lencho thought only of this one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, sees everything. He believed that God can see everything. God has not to be informed. He knows. He knows everything that goes inside the human being, in the mind of the human being. So he knows everything. He doesn't have to be informed. But still, Lencho was an ox of a man. very hard worker. Ox of a man means as an ox can work very hard in the crop field, in the for the farming. He was like that. He was an ox of a man who could do, who could work like an animal in the fields. But still he knew how to write. But he knew how to write. So what he did, the following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Now, to double confirm it that yes, God knows everything, but to confirm it, he thought that he would have to write a letter to God that would straightway go to him to inform that this has happened to him. So he took the initiative to write a letter, and he would go to the town to place it in the mail to the post office so that it goes straightway to the God. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop becomes, because the hailstorm and etc. 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 So he asked for 100 pesos from the God. That was his demand, and that 100 pesos was enough for him to run his family for 1 year. So he asked from God 100 pesos, which was needed to run his family. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. So he wrote it to God. And what is the address? The address is God. Understood? Because that was the address that God. So he wrote the letter to God, and the envelope he wrote that to God, and he put the letter inside and went to post it. Put the stamp. He knows that the stamp is to be put, otherwise the letter cannot be posted. So he did all the work properly so that to make it confirm that the letter reaches to the God. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. Now, the postman who opened the mailbox and got the letter was very amazed to see an address like this, that is God. So he, out of fun, and took it to the postmaster and showed it to him. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing, but almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter, starting up a correspondence with God." Now, it was definitely an amazing thing, a very funny thing, a hilarious thing that has happened in his life for the postmaster. So he enjoyed it. But immediately he became serious and thought that it might be funny for us, but the man who wrote it has how much faith on God that he has written a letter to God. That means with a hope that it will definitely reach to God, and God is there to converse with him. So he was very much amazed with this letter. In order to not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea, answered the letter. He thought that this man, who has such immense on God, at least one man was found on the earth to have such immense faith, absolute faith on God. So he did not want to shake the faith of the man on God. So he decided to reply to the man in the name of God. But when he opened, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill. So it was not a simple conversation with God. Something else was there. What was it? The demand of 100 pesos. So he realized that his work or purpose would not be served only by answering it. It demands something more. What more is demanded? That is 100 pesos. So he himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. He asked money from his employees. He himself donated, that is from his salary, part of his salary he gave, and his friends also, from where he could collect, he collected some amount of money. It was impossible for him to gather the 100 pesos. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. So he collected the money, but not according to the full demand of the man, that is 100 pesos. He collected a portion of it, more than half of it, that is more than 50 pesos, and that much only he could collect and put it in the envelope, and he put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature, God. That to confirm that it has come from God, he signed it as God. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him, because Lencho was sure that the reply definitely would come from the God. So he came with that, for the letter. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the content of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. The postman wanted to hand over the letter himself only, and the postmaster, he was watching from some other place with that content mind that yes, he has done something for someone, performed a good deed. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Please mark this, note this, that not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Why? Because he was sure that a letter definitely would come, the reply definitely would come from God. He has such faith. It might be very funny, or maybe an act of curiosity for us that how the man is reacting. But it was very certain for him there is nothing special, because God, I have written letter to God, God will definitely answer me. It is as clear as that. So he was not slightest surprised on seeing the money. Such was his confidence. But he became angry when he counted the money. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. Now when he opened the envelope, he saw that the whole amount of money demanded, that is 100 pesos, was not there. He could not believe that. How can that be? God cannot reject, God cannot deny. God cannot deny a person who has asked for something. And he asked for 100 pesos and he got not 100 pesos, less than that. He was very angry. Immediately Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink, and he started to write with much wrinkling of his brow. Because he was wrinkling of his brow, he was very annoyed, disappointed. How can this be? What he wrote, caused by the effort he had to make express his ideas, because he had to express his ideas, his annoyance. He had to write to God that how can this be possible, because I know that I have asked you 100 pesos and definitely you would give me 100 pesos what I have asked for or demanded for. Why that money has not reached to me? He was very disappointed and started writing letter in that with that view. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp, which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. He took the stamp, licked, and then affixed it with his fist so that it sticks properly to the letter, and again to confirm that this letter should go to the God, that this cannot happen. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it, because they were very curious that when he got the letter, there was no sign of satisfaction, no sign of thankfulness to the God, nothing was there which they were expecting. Rather, his brows were wrinkled. What happened? Something definitely has happened. He was not satisfied. So, and he immediately wrote a letter. So what was there? They were very curious to know about that. When they opened the letter, what did they see? It said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. I asked from you 100 pesos. I received only 70 pesos, but I need the whole amount. So please send that. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lencho. So that means these people, these post office people, they have collected the money. They have taken away this rest 30 paces. And he got very annoyed that they are the bunch of crooks, those who have taken away the 30 paces. Definitely God cannot do the mistake. No. So God has definitely sent this 100 paces. These people, those who are in between, sitting in the post office, they have definitely opened the envelope and taken out this 30 paces. So next time when you send the envelope, don't send it, don't mail it through the post office, send it to me directly. Because there are a bunch of crooks sitting over here. That is the story, children. So you can understand that how much immense faith he had on God. And the irony of the story is that, children, that the people or the persons, those who tried their best, sharing their money, their salary, they got the stigma of bunch of crooks. Do you think that they are the bunch of crooks? Definitely no, because they have shared their money. Then what do you think? That Lencho did the mistake? Was his ignorance a fault? So please try to find out. Read the chapter nicely. Your assignment is that you have to keep your answers ready in your copy. If you don't have new copy at your home right now, please do it. Keep it ready in your rough copies also, because as soon as the school will start, we will ask from you the copies, because you know you have marks on notebooks also. So keep yourselves ready, be prepared, and few more questions are to be given that I will give as an assignment on the next day. Till then, goodbye, children.